Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so the Lakers play the Golden State Warriors today. It's Christmas Day. Merry Christmas, everybody. And the game's at 5 o'clock Pacific time and, of course, 8 o'clock Eastern. So if you're going to be watching in the East Coast, you got a night game. If you're watching in the West Coast, kind of early, not too early, not too late, but somewhere in that little mid-range area. So that's what we're looking at today, man. The Golden State Warriors are a team that's been getting beaten by everybody but the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's what it really comes down to. The Minnesota Timberwolves are the only team they can beat right now. Um, Other than that, they've run into the likes of the Pacers. Man, had a pretty solid game. Ultimately, Miles Turner shot them down in that game, pretty close, comparable three-point shooting. But they've had some really bad perimeter defensive games as of late, man. Against the Memphis Grizzlies, they lost by 51 points. They were down by as much as 57 points. They couldn't hit a shot. First game Steph Curry ever had no field goals in the game. And, really it just became a situation where that game got out of hand pretty fast, and stats were ugly and so on and so forth. The game before that, the Dallas Mavericks and themselves tied the most three-point shots made ever. Of course, you got Clay on the other end, Luka hitting shots, etc. 144 points, I think 143 points were dropped in that game on them. And then, of course, Memphis dropped 144 points on the following game. So, yeah, they had some real issues there. They've kind of gotten their act together a little bit with the date against Minnesota where they won the game. I think it just came down to some cold shooting from the Minnesota Timberwolves that allowed for the Golden State Warriors to really just edge them out. And then you're talking about a situation where they went into, of course, the Pacer game where it just ultimately did not work out for them. So I'm trying to look at some stats here since I have this extra phone. But nevertheless, the Golden State Warriors, I watched about 6 highlights from them, all of those games I just mentioned. And of course, there was a game against the Rockets that they lost by 1, which was a tournament game. Saw the highlights of that. Very low scoring basketball game, 90-91. And I watched the other Rockets game too that they had slapped in between 2 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves, for which I didn't see. So they, just like us, have been seeing a lot of the same teams over and over again. Rockets, Minnesota, Rockets, Dallas, Memphis, Minnesota again. So that's kind of how it's been for them. They can only seem to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Other than that, it's just been a bunch of losses where their defense has really struggled, man. But on the 15th and the 19th, they really had their lows of lows, in their defensive situation. But they picked up DS Dennis Schroeder. I'm calling him DS Dub right now because that is kind of what their team has been about. They've thrown him into the starting lineup immediately, and they ain't won any games when they've done that. This is being completely honest with you. They haven't been doing a whole lot of winning with DS on the floor, and I don't know that he isn't a good player. He's already shown that with us, and of course in all the situations he's been in. But at the end of the day, I just don't know that the fit is there, and they're trying to force it, in my opinion. And he probably should be coming off the bench, but they're likely to start him tonight at the shooting guard spot, and I just don't know it's a seamless fit. You got Buddy Hield coming off the bench, Jonathan Kuminga coming off the bench. Trace Jackson Davis is now in their starting lineup. Very good player, power forward position. Definitely somebody I would circle as a player of concern. He tends to play his best games against the Lakers, and he's on a really nice stretch where the minutes are there. Podziemski's having a low season for his standards. Definitely a very good player. Look to rebound the ball and hit threes from the 2-guard spot. But it's just been a bad season for him. I don't know what's going on there. Moses Moody is also somebody you got to pay very close attention to against us. He usually plays well. Wiggins plays well against us. He wigs out against us. So, they got some players on their team that specialize in facing the Los Angeles Lakers, if you ask me. And I think that the Golden State Warriors are always a threat against us, especially on a big stage like the Christmas Day stage. In their building, to be exact. Of course, the Chase Center in Frisco. So, yeah, man. The Lakers are coming off a loss against the Detroit Pistons, the only game over the last several years that I really didn't pay much attention to at all. I chimed in the second half for the most part and barely paid attention to it throughout the course of that game. Just had a lot going on personally that just kind of pulled me away from the game. But I think I'll be able to watch this one at my uncle's house, so I don't know if I'll have a halftime video for you. I may try to sneak into a room and do a halftime video, but the reaction video will be there. Probably a little later than usual. I'll probably wait till I get home to do that, but I will react to that game, and I'm pretty certain we'll be watching it there. So, yeah, man, it's this Laker team coming off this Pistons loss, I did pay attention to what people were saying. Had a bad turnover night for Austin Reeves. Kind of a no-show night for Rui. From what I understand, Malik Beasley had a really good game off the bench, which is frustrating for us given the fact that he couldn't hit a shot in our building while he wore our uniform for a whole half season. But, all in all, the Lakers just ran into a much more athletic, capable team. And then they really ran our guys out the gym with their good perimeter defensive players, for which I warned us about. And so we weren't ready for the athleticism. I don't think that Golden State provides that same athleticism. Some of the guys that you would want to be athletic for the Warriors in that regard are a little older. Wiggins, GP2. Those are the guys they can really count on to play that style for them. And it's just not a strength of theirs. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, that's really where they lost the Indy game, I think it was, in transition, with fast break points being crazy. If it wasn't that game, then it was another one. They got smoked in transition, but I think it was that Indy game where they really struggled there. So we should be back down to a comparable space with the other team as it pertains to our athleticism and our ability to impose our will on them. I just don't think the matchups were very favorable there against Detroit. Now, injury report can kind of change some things. From what I understand, D'Lo Russell is a game-time decision. Bron Nadie are game-time decisions. All, from what I understand, sitting on a questionable status at this point. I do expect for Bron Nadie to play because it's a Christmas Day game, et cetera, et cetera. But D'Lo, I'm not really sure what's going on. He might have hurt himself against the Detroit Pistons, and of course I didn't watch, so I don't know what's going on there. Of course, the usual suspects are still out, man. Jackson Hayes, Vanderbilt, Christian Wood. They're still out. So that's what that is there. And then Jalen Hood-Schifino is also out, but I think they're kind of hiding him for whatever reason, even though he needs to be developing. He probably could help us more than we think. But I just think that they're waiting for the right opportunity to add him into some type of trade. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't always agree with what the Lakers are doing. This is one of those types of things. I don't think we've handled that situation very well. But it is what it is, man. We need a much better game out of Anthony Davis. Just like I said at the end of the Sacramento loss that I did pay attention to, win, felt like a loss. We just did some things there that I didn't think we could win if we carried over into the next game. And we lost the next game, not surprised. That's why I always trust my instincts at the end of wins that have issues attached to it, being pessimistic and ultimately frustrated. Even though the victory was gained, because a lot of times tendencies are carried over, and with this team having the fragility of mind that I know that we have at this point, miss free throws down the stretch of basketball games. I didn't think Anthony Davis would come into that Detroit game, play great, and from what I understand, he did not. Hopefully he has a well bounced back game against Trace Jackson Davis and Draymond Green, because we really need Anthony Davis to be his best, and the inconsistencies of Anthony Davis are a problem for this team, just like the inconsistencies of D'Angelo Russell are a problem for this team. So we got to get consistency from those two players. They play too big of a role to be like the most random players as it pertains to what you're going to get out of them. You literally never know what you're getting out of these people. And so that's what it comes down to for me. I think we get a little more consistency out of some other guys, whether it be for better or just consistently not very good. But consistency is what ultimately is most important in regards to trying to assess a full basketball team. So Austin Reeves needs to bounce back. It's not only about keeping the ball, taking care of it. It's about making sure that his volume is where it needs to be. Not too many shots, not too few shots. And assists. He only had 2 assists against the Detroit Pistons. I just don't think we can win when Austin's playing like that. It's not really going to be good enough. LeBron James, from what I understand, played very well against the Detroit Pistons. I did see in the fourth quarter, the final 5 minutes, I was able to zero in on it. He was trying to put on his cape and hit some shots, but ultimately the game-winning three-point shot just did not fall. I don't know if I really need him shooting game-winning three-point shots. I think we have more capable three-point shooters that we can play the percentages and get better looks. He can create those shots for those players, but I just don't think that at the end of the day, you can live and die with LeBron threes and feel great about the ball being in his hands, but you can get a better, higher percentage three-point shot if you just work the ball around and run a play. So these are the type of things where your philosophy meets logic. Logic tells you put the ball in LeBron's hands and let him do whatever. But strategy tells you hunt out the best percentage look. And I just don't think the Lakers really did that because we were going with the logic of giving the ball to LeBron and letting him make decisions. It's incumbent upon him to try to make the best decision. He took the shot he took, and we didn't win. It was what it was. But I don't think he's that great of a three-point shooter, and I do think we have some really good three-point shooters. You know, if a guy like Dalton Connect was a little better right now, if he was playing with more confidence, that's him. We look for him to hit the 3-point shot because we know we can hit it. We know he's going to be a high percentage shooter. But he's in a slump. That's something to talk about. He hasn't played well in about 6-7 games. I don't remember the last time he really had a breakout. Probably the Utah game. And we just haven't utilized that young fella very well, and I don't think there's a whole lot of excuse for that because he really can help us in a lot of key areas that we actually need. So I think JJ's just not doing a great job of incorporating that young player in, and that's what I have to say about that. We got to get his confidence back up. I don't know how you do that, but him struggling and being a 10-minute guy is absolutely a waste of a pick. He's better than that. He's shown he's better than that, and we need to get more out of him today. Against the Golden State Warriors, who are inevitably going to shoot over 38 3-point shots. We know that. Our perimeter defense needs to be good, and our perimeter attack needs to be efficient because they are not a good perimeter 3-point shooting perimeter defense team. They're not. They have obviously had some horrible games guarding the 3-ball this year, so if our 3-ball is falling, I'm pretty sure we'll be good. They're a much better rebounding team, of course, with Trace and guys like Wiggins who rebound the ball very well. Kuminga, of course, Draymond's going to rebound the ball. So I do expect that would likely win the boards. But if we can zero in and try to edge ourselves the victory in that category, I do believe in us beating a Golden State Warrior team that's just not that great this year. They're kind of down there with us. Some days they play really well, other days they don't. And I think they're an older team too, for the most part, even though they have a lot of young players. Their core is pretty much older. And I just think that at this point, they could probably use another move, maybe somebody that actually fits on their team. Bringing in Schroeder, I just don't think they really had a need for a guard like that. I know they could use the depth with Milton going down, and the overall talent raise is great. But I mean, you literally have Steph Curry, Moses Moody, and Podziemski. You don't really need guards. You don't need Schroeder coming in there taking minutes away from those players. And so it just is what it is. We'll see a lot of Schroeder tonight. Of course, it's an ex-Laker, so he's going to want to play well against us. And that's something to be aware of. But, yeah, just zero in on the players that we know play well against the Lakers. Trace Jackson Davis, Andrew Wiggins specifically, tend to really kill us, man. They tend to really have great games against us regularly, no matter what the situation is. So I expect that they will tonight. And if we don't put a body on Trace, it could be the reason we lose. That's really what it comes down to. So Steph Curry, if he's hot, he's gonna shoot the ball very well. I mean, what do I have to say about the greatest shooter ever played? He's still got a lot left in the tank. I think he's still a premier superstar in this league, and I don't think he's fallen off too much at all. To be completely honest with you, I don't see much fall off there at all. So we just got to keep on, catering our defense to try to slow him down. And if we're able to get a bad shooting performance out of him, I think it goes a long way in helping us win the game. So he's been hit or miss lately, but you don't expect for him not to show up on Christmas Day, put it like that. So this is what it is, man. The Golden State Warriors are hosting this game. They're going to be wearing their blue uniforms at home. We'll be wearing our Christmas whites, of course. And hopefully we have a better showing than we had these last two games. I thought we played pretty well against Sacramento up until the last couple minutes, and then tried to give the game away, and Sacramento just didn't close it. In the last game, of course, I didn't watch, nor the highlights, but just the same, I understand that we did not have that great of a game, didn't really show up in the matchups that weren't that great on paper, ended up looking even worse in real life. So that's my take on the situation. I would love to say that I'm super excited about this Christmas Day matchup, but these two teams aren't that great, to be honest with you. And maybe that's a good thing for our team, because the last thing we need to be doing is getting blown out by a team like Cleveland or something like that on Christmas Day. But I do think we have a great shot at beating the Golden State Warriors, although we are an underdog going into this matchup. I don't think, by the way the Golden State Warriors have been playing as of late, I would have too much confidence if I were sitting on their side right now. I wouldn't. Neither one of these teams go into this game with a great deal of confidence, and maybe that makes for a great basketball game just the same, with two struggling teams trying to bounce back against one another. So, we haven't seen the Golden State Warriors a whole lot this season as of yet. I think I didn't check to see what matchup this is. I know we saw them in the preseason, but I don't know that we've seen them yet in the regular season. I know we got to see them several times from here, so that's just what it is. But in the preseason, we definitely had a matchup against them that I won't forget, because we sat just about everybody and got blown out by like 50 points. So I don't expect anything like that would happen if our stars are on the floor, but just the same, that is something worth talking about. So, yeah, man, I would love to give you more in regards to the Detroit matchup, having a bit more context like I usually do. But the fact of the matter is, I really didn't get a chance to watch that game, man. So I don't get to harbor some of the frustrations or the details of what ultimately took place following the storyline of our basketball team like I religiously do. But just the same, I got the gist of it, listening to all the talking heads, and really we just had a no-show. And we shot the ball well. Hopefully that carries over into this one. But it wasn't enough if we're going to continue to turn the ball over at a high clip, for which we did. So we need guys to bounce back. I'm circling Austin Reeves on our side tonight. He really is going to have to bounce back strong. He was 5 of 9 shooting. That wasn't bad. I want your volume to be higher when you're shooting that well, and lower when you're having a cold night. With Austin, I think that's a good thing to follow there. And taking care of the basketball is everything for everybody. LeBron James has been turning the ball over less as of late. I don't remember exactly what it was in the last game, but it wasn't glaring. Game before that, same thing. So, we need to keep our turnovers down. Of course, going up against Draymond Green and Wiggins and those guys, Podziemski, those guys are pretty good stealers of the ball. Kuminga. So, we'll keep our eyes open and just try to get back to what we do. We've turned ourselves into a pretty good defensive team. Max Christie had a really good game in the last one, from what I understand. 17 points, the 3-ball fell very well. Of course, he had 2 steals, as he often does great things on the defensive end. He's going to be a very important piece tonight, probably chasing around Steph Curry some. Cam Reddish, same thing. We need our defenders to play well. I look at the way that Gabe Vincent's been playing and been really encouraged by him over the last 2 weeks. His conditioning seems to be coming into play. And now that he's in shape, he's really able to do more for our team. His 3-ball has been falling as of late. And he's really turned the season around over the last, say, 6 to 7 games. So hopefully that continues. He's still, we're in the Bay Area. He's from Sacramento. We spend a lot of time up there. So hopefully that continues to feed his soul in a positive way for the Christmas to be basically in his neighborhood, more or less, even though Sacramento's about an hour and a half away or whatever. But nevertheless, man, this has been a good time for Gabe Vincent, and we're glad he's coming around and looking like the way he wants to play. So that's really what it is, man. I want to see more Knecht, though. I'm not comfortable with Dalton Knecht only getting 10 minutes, attempting like 3 shots. He is so much better of a basketball player than that. We are leaving a lot of meat on the bone as pertains to the production and the ceiling of our team by not working him into the equation and allowing him for his confidence to be in the toilet. This is one of our very best players, and it's like we don't know that. And I could argue that the games that the Golden State Warriors won against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the only 2 games they've won over the last 6 games, is because they're going up against a team that religiously does the same thing, leaving all types of good players sitting on their bench and rolling with what they often roll with and living and dying with those results, not being creative enough with their roster to showcase the Shannons and the Dillinghams, as we've often talked about with Minnesota. As a result, they don't get wins against the Golden State Warriors in the last 2 matchups over the last 2 weeks. So the only games they've won has been because of that type of thing. And I just don't want to see us do that tonight. We have a much better player in Dalton Knecht than we've been able to get from him. And removing him from the lineup entirely is sitting one of your very best players, truthfully. So that's pretty much my point of view, man. We will watch this game at 5 o'clock on Christmas Day, and hopefully we get a win. We've had some bittersweet days in Christmas, man. Sometimes these games go real bad on Christmas for the Lakers, but the NBA gets their Steph Curry versus LeBron matchup. I don't know how many more of these we will see in the future, so we better appreciate this Christmas Day game. I wouldn't be surprised if something very special happened to one of those 2 players or even both of them, given the fact that it's literally Christmas and this is when they shine the most. So, yeah, man, we'll be ready. We'll be ready, man. And, of course, as I said, I'll have something for you at the end of the game. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.